officially again to the Zoom room. So yeah, let's have a look at today's email, and that'll lead us nicely into the quote. So just keep the live stream going for you and for everyone else. Oopsie. Okay. So it happened. Don't know if it's happened. All right. Give me a moment. Get all the tech going. Did you find that a bit challenging?
I just couldn't get the text to come up on the screen. Something was covering it up. Couldn't get past it.
That was a bit bizarre. Was it something that Zoom did?
Don't know. It just came up when I screen shared.
Yeah.
After I came off Zoom, I was able to access it.
Yeah. Very strange. I've never had that. I don't know if that was Zoom doing some weird stuff.
Yes, I had resistance to doing the text as well.
Yeah, maybe. So next time do the text as well, or instead of, just to see how you go with that. All right, so look at the email, share my screen. Where are we? Come on. Low system resources. Okay, it's not good. Probably need to close some stuff. All right. You just sent something, Christine?
Yes, that I didn't catch her name, that woman who is channeling messages of hope, a medium.
Okay.
Just interesting.
All right.
Sounded pretty genuine.
Okay. You posted that. All right. I'm just closing a few windows because there's not too much going on. All right. So you can read that. Where are we? That we want. All right. Okay. So Google Chrome just collapsed. Too many apps really going on. Mode to future. Mode for the future. Don't do that. It's closed a few. So hopefully we'll close that one as well. We want. Okay, so all right. Okay. The live stream. All right. So there we go. Can you see that?
Yes.
All right. If you can read that for us, Christine. So if you can read the quote.
How do you let go of attachment to things? Don't even try. It's impossible. Attachment to things drops away by itself when you no longer seek to find yourself in them. By Eckhart Tolle.
So in today's quote, Eckhart hits the ego's nail on the head. Because the ego is always trying to find and confirm its identity in the world and uses all the things it has made up to populate the world for this purpose. So it's not so much the things that are a problem, it's the identification with the things. That's the problem. And so you could be an enlightened billionaire. It is possible, technically. I'm not sure there's many, but it is possible without attachment. Question is, why would you want to accumulate so much if you weren't attached to it? Why would you even want to be a billionaire? That's the question. Probably you wouldn't, which is why most spiritual teachers and masters don't really bother, pursuing form. But it is possible, as long as you don't identify with the possessions and with the money and the wealth and the status and whatever else in this world. It's the identification that's the problem. And the only way out of this self-perpetuating thought system, because the more we do it, the more it seems to be the way of the world, and the logic of the world seems to be valid and justifiable. So it perpetuates itself the more we believe it in our mind. So the only way out of that is to accept that you will never find yourself in any of the images the ego has projected onto the four-dimensional screen of time-space that we call this universe and world, right? If these are just images which aren't true, how can you expect to find yourself in an image? As Yeshua says in lesson 15, I think, images cannot see. If you're an image, how can an image projected onto the screen of time-space really see anything? Saying, well, you don't really see anything. You think you see. Your senses give you the illusion that you're seeing these other images all around you, and those images are real, but actually you're just caught up in a holographic projection, a time-space four-dimensional screen that we call a universe and a world. So if you accept that you will never find yourself in any of the images, and it means that you'll no longer seek to find your identity in anything or anyone in this world. You cannot find it within the images, because the images are all false, projected by a part of your mind that is illusory, that's false. So how can you find your true self in what's projected out from an illusion? So forgiveness, as Yeshua teaches it in A Course in Miracles, is nothing more than a refusal to look for yourself in and thereby give reality to the images being projected onto the screen. Okay? So he's just saying, don't look there for reality, because what you're seeing is all illusion. It's just projections onto this four-dimensional screen. Seemingly real, but not really real. So there's nothing more than this, but neither is it less. So you must free yourself. To free yourself from the mental and emotional prison the ego has made for you, you need first to accept that you will never find yourself in any of the images that you call the things, people, living creatures of this world, whatever it is. It's all just an image. And this is the single reinterpretation of the Holy Spirit. It says to us, it's all just an image. You think this is life. You think these things have life, but they are just images projected out by this egoic mind. And they seem to have movement, and they seem to move around, and they seem to speak and act and do things, and but they're just images. And all those images are being projected by a mind that is insane. So once you realize the futility of trying to find reality and yourself in these images, it becomes easier to let go of any attachment to the reality of any of the images you see, hear, touch, taste, perceive in the so-called reality. So it's a virtual reality show. The seeing, the hearing, the touching, the senses are designed to tell you that these things are really there. That's what the senses do. They're part of the illusion. They're designed to convince you that the illusion is real. So it's something that's clearly never going to work. We've been trying, your whole life, and from your many, many lifetimes before this, trying to find some kind of reality, identity in the images. But if you realize that it's just never going to work, then the utter stupidity and the sheer insanity of pursuing it as if it will work will dawn on you, and you'll naturally let go of pursuing it. So Einstein said, said insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. Once you realize that, okay, I can't expect to do the same thing over and over again and get a different result. I must change my mind and I must do things differently. Then you're on the fast track to enlightenment. And it's just a simple understanding that nothing in this world is ever going to work. So that understanding leads you to letting go of your attachments. And the more you let them go and experience the inner peace and freedom this inevitably brings, the more you'll understand that this is the only way to lead a happy, peaceful, and liberated life. Now, you might be thinking that's still a big ask, but it's really not, because you just need to apply the simple logic of the Holy Spirit to everything you perceive in this world. Right? The images you perceive as external reality are either all real or they're all unreal. And you either find yourself or lose yourself in them. Those are the choices. You can't be half pregnant. It's like it's either real or it's not real. There's no in-between state. This is the teaching. So if you just accept the truth that all the images you perceive in this world, people, places, events, circumstances, and anything else that seems to be outside of your mind, possessions, material stuff, all of that is just an image. Everything in that's an image is unreal. When you're tempted to make them real, so the ego will tempt you to make them real by getting you to react to them emotionally, and hence judge them as real with the power to affect you. That's how it works. You have an emotional reaction, you think they're real, you believe they're real, you feel it, and then the ego tells you this is reality. So when you're really tempted, that's when you need to remind yourself, this is just an image in a dream. I'm dreaming here, and so why am I reacting to this image in a dream when it's not real? It's just an image. So this is the true forgiveness, radical forgiveness, as Yeshua teaches it, that sets you free, because you will no longer then believe in any of the images. And so they will have no power to cause you any suffering or disturb your peace in any way. Right? In practice, this is a process. As you get tempted, as these emotions arise and you notice that attachment, then you get the chance to let it go and correct your mind by letting go of the thoughts, the beliefs, and the emotions that characterize those disturbed states. Any other way of perceiving the images of this world will inevitably lead to you remaining in the chains of your own false beliefs. It would have you believe the images on the screen are real, and that the separate self who perceives them, in other words, your ego, is therefore also real. Right? So those are the only two options. It's either real or it's unreal, and you can't sort of have both. You can't say, well, it's kind of half real. It's either real or it's not. That's the essential distinction between a non-dual teaching like A Course in Miracles and many other spiritual teachings that fudge it, and they say, well, you can have both. Something can be kind of half real, can be real and unreal at the same time. It can be half real. You know, none of those teachings will work, because they are trying to reconcile the irreconcilable. In the end, you must make a clear decision about what reality is and then stick to that. And the way you do that is by letting go of your mental and emotional attachment to the images of this world. That's where the rubber meets the road of this practice. So there's a recording of last year we did session yesterday. So that would have been our text reading for yesterday. If you want to catch up with that, you can read that. You can listen to that. So by seeing through the distracting nature of the many activities in which you engage every day to the truth of unconditional love that underlies them and is there in every situation, you peel away this veil of illusion that darkens your mind, and you allow yourself to know God by experiencing unconditional love moment by moment. So then you might go, well, that's all sounds very nice and quite highfalutin, but how does this actually work in practice? So to give some examples, common things you might do in a day. You might go to the bank and interact with the teller at the bank. You might go to supermarket, buy some stuff, so you interact with the cashier, a waiter at a restaurant, a person on a dog walk. There's many of these kinds of interactions that can happen in an average day for people. And so instead of being preoccupied with getting your problems sorted out, putting your shopping in bags, and paying your bill, in those three examples of supermarket waiter and cashier at a supermarket, and then allowing negative emotions like frustration and irritation to hijack your mind, you could pause for a few moments. You just breathe, take a nice deep breath in. You can connect with a sense of empty, open, spacious awareness in yourself in that moment, which is the essence of love. Love is just spacious awareness, pure formless awareness. And then as you exhale, just have a sense of extending this feeling outwards. Whatever you connected with, you have a sense of just, I'm giving this out, I'm extending it to the person as you look at them, and perhaps you speak to them so you can engage in a conversation. You can be kind of normal even while you're doing this. It only takes a moment to connect, and then you get into the extension phase. So while you're speaking to them and interacting with them, you can be doing this extension silently. And then the recognition, finally, that deep inside of them, there resides the same unconditionally loving presence as you're experiencing within you in that moment. And so you confirm that loving presence in your own mind as you give it, which is why Yeshua is continuously trying to teach us, but as you give, you receive. So I've summarized the steps of this process into an acronym. So PICER, PICEER. Pause, inhale, connect with the feeling of love, exhale, extend that feeling of love, and then recognize that the same loving awareness is in the other person. And that is a process then, another way of radically forgiving. Because at the end of the process, you go from maybe feeling slightly irritated and disconnected to a recognition of one loving awareness that you share with the other person. And being aware of only this loving feeling or presence is unconditional love. If you feel that, then that is what we call unconditional love. And that feeling will be enhanced when you also recognize it in another person, which is why as you give, so you receive. The recognition in another strengthens that recognition in your own mind. Therefore, unconditional love cannot be achieved through a perception of a subjective you, independent self, loving another objective entity. That's called special love in the Course. Whether that seems to be a person, another living creature, or an inanimate object or a substance. People have all kinds of relationships with all of the above. But the key distinguishing feature between a holy relationship that's dedicated to truth and a special relationship is that in the special relationship, you believe that you are separate from that which you are relating to. Because and if you do that, you're perceiving something other than perfect love or oneness. And you're splitting your mind in that perception. And so those kinds of separative, special relationships, the ego sponsors eagerly because it keeps the idea of separation going and perpetuates it in your mind. If you see people or things as being really separate people or things external to you, you've lost the meaning of unconditional love. And you'll only be able to experience life on the mundane, practical, and transactional level. It cannot fulfill your soul's yearning for divine or unconditional love. So then it's okay, well, I better get on with it. I've got shopping to do, and we just get caught up in this, transactional details of life, and in that process are very disconnected from the divine and from unconditional love, which is our source. And the ego won't allow us to see that unconditional love is always there, underlying the transactional sort of very busy mind that the ego likes is this deeper unconditional love that is the ground of being, that is always there and always exists, and it's always available and accessible in every situation, no matter how busy you seem to be and how challenging life seems to be. That level is always there if you allow it to be and you open your mind to it. So whenever you meet, communicate with, or even think of anyone for the rest of today, and you can practice this tomorrow as well, remember this acronym. Pick here. Pause, inhale, connect, exhale. As you exhale, extend the feeling of love, and then a recognition. Recognize that you have the same loving awareness as the person that you're interacting with or perceiving. So this can be done not just for people who are actually physically there, but it can be done for people whom you're thinking about. And it's as effective to practice it because it's all happening internally to you. So they don't need to be there physically. They just need to be in your thoughts and your emotions for you to practice it. So pick here, this process is a path to experiencing unconditional love in your interaction with anyone and everyone, and lifting your daily experience of life into the extraordinary, ordinary domain of the miraculous. And so simple. Anyone can do that. The whole process might take you 5 or 10 seconds once you get good at it. The question is, will you remember to do it? Will you actually apply it and have an experience accordingly, experience of unconditional love? Or not? That's the choice. So I thought right now we could do a little meditation on that, which we'll probably close it out for you, Christine. Just do like a 5-minute med, and then you can go and we'll carry on with the lesson.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so just make yourself comfortable. Take a nice deep breath in through the nose, sitting in your favorite meditation posture. So sitting on a chair, just feet shoulder width apart, back straight. Cup your hands in your lap or have your hands palms facing upwards on your thighs. And you take a nice deep breath in just to initiate the meditation. So breathing into the lower stomach, clench the sphincter muscle to lock the energy in as you do that. Feel the energy running up your spine to your heart center. You can put one hand on your heart. Breathe this energy into your heart. Feel it drawing all the way up into your crown. Clench the sphincter muscle to lock the energy in. It's the muscle used to track the flow of urine or squeeze the last drops out. So you lock the energy in. Just pause at the top of the inhale. And so bring to mind a person, maybe a person who you've struggled with today or recently, in any kind of separation between you. You've thought some maybe unkind thoughts, irritable thoughts. You know the person to choose. There'll be someone. So just breathe in, pause. Use the breath to create a natural pause, a gap in the mind. As you breathe in, have a sense of connecting deeply with the feeling of love. So breathe it into your heart center. Drop your attention down into your heart. You can put one hand on your heart to really feel into that space, the heart chakra, the heart space. And you feel an opening there. Breathing in this loving awareness. Connect with this feeling of love, loving awareness. A maximal inhale breath. You hold the breath briefly in the state of connection. Feel that connection deeply in your heart, in your mind, in your whole being. Breathe in again if you need to top yourself up. It's as though you're infusing every pore, every cell, every muscle of your body, every part of your mind, every fiber of your being with this light, the light of your source. And then can't hold the breath anymore, just exhale out through the mouth. So you exhale, there's a natural tendency to let go and release. So exhale and just blow out. All negativity, and simultaneously extend the feeling of love. So this feeling inside of you, extend it to this person that you're thinking of. See them happy, smiling. Bless them, in other words. And now just recognize that the same loving awareness is in the other person. Whatever you're experiencing, whatever you have experienced over the last 5 minutes or so, that identical awareness is in the other person. There is no difference, no separation between you on a level of truth. So just feel into this feeling, and you can breathe in, breathing this recognition. Anchor the state in through your breath. And notice, you spend a few moments noticing how you feel now compared with 5 minutes ago when we started the meditation. You notice the subtle difference, and starting to pay attention to the subtle effects of the spirit and acknowledge them in your life. So anchor the state in this recognition, which simply means to rethink, recognize. You rethink your opinions, your attitudes, your beliefs, your entire life can be rethought. And set the intention to stay here in this unconditionally loving awareness for the rest of the evening. And if you're leaving us now, just top yourself up with frequent breath breaks. So it is said and so it is done. Just listen to recording. I've sent you a format recording, or I've given you instructions in your Telegram message or email. To do that, practice one more time in the long form, the lesson, and that should keep you in this unconditionally loving state of mind and awareness. And so now, when you're ready, you're going to open your eyes, look around for 30 seconds, just observe everything. Notice how your perception has changed, altered a bit, quite subtly. And as you tune into these subtle shifts, Really start paying attention to the spirit, because it's subtle, but it's profound. And carry on in this unconditionally loving, flowing state for the rest of the evening. So that brings us to the end of that short meditation. Now's, if you have to go, a good time to go. It's 8 o'clock your time. Sally will carry on with today's lesson, shall we? So,
Bye-bye.
okay, see you soon, I hope. Namaste.
Bye.
All right, so, okay, what's happening there? It's not opening for some reason. Like that. Okay, so have a look at our lesson for today. Now let's go to lesson 128. Okay, so this is lesson 128. Just going to try one more time. No, it doesn't like that. Okay, never mind. So you can read the quote, the main lesson, and then read it in the alternative. There's so much to translate in that first paragraph, Sally.
The world I see holds nothing that I want. The world I see holds nothing that I need, nothing that I can use in any way, and nothing at all that serves me joy.
First, to give me joy.
Nothing at all that serves to give me joy. Yeah. If I believe this thought, I am saved from years of misery, countless disappointments, and hopes that turn to bitter ashes of despair. I must accept this thought as true if I want to leave the world behind and soar behind its pretty scope and little ways.
Soar beyond its petty scope. So just the littleness of the petty is just things that are little and trivial and little ways. Quite an opening paragraph, really. It's like, okay.
Yeah.
The world I see holds nothing that I need and nothing that I can use in any way and nothing that serves to give me joy. Now, that's going to push a few buttons for most people. Because we all have these attachments. We think the world does offer us something. We think we have needs in the world. We think that certain things bring us joy and certain things disappoint us and certain things bring us pain. And it's the same. You see how related this is to yesterday, that there's a special kind of love. There's a kind of love for this and a kind of love for that. And it's not all the same. In the same way, we have different attachments in this world. These are all just different kinds of love, special love. I desire something, I want something, I need something. It's a special kind of love. The ego is telling us that this is right, this is correct, and you need to get these needs met. The antidote to that is to deny them all and just say none of them are true. There's nothing here that really is of any value at all, and nothing will give me joy here.
We can have preferences though, can't we?
Well, it's inevitable in this life that we will. But the difference between a preference and an attachment is a preference doesn't really matter, whereas an attachment does.
Yep.
I prefer to drink tea to coffee. Okay, well you've got to choose. I prefer to go to the beach as opposed to shopping malls. We make choices. But am I attached to it? Do I go, I live for the beach? Then you have a problem, don't you? Because you're making the illusion real to yourself. And then, of course, when you're not at the beach, you feel like, well, life is a bit mundane and flat. Now, I'm just giving an example, but we all have these special things, these special attachments that seemingly give us joy in this world. And he's saying, not necessarily stop doing them, but change your perception of them. It's like, it's not the real source of joy. Isn't the activity or the person, or that's not the real source of joy. The joy comes from within you. It's beyond form. Those things might activate the joy that's already there. That it makes it easier when you, let's say, in nature, take Lynn's example, nature photographing, animals and beautiful sunsets and stuff, makes it easier to access the joy that's already within you. But that joy is not happening because of the activity and because of your environment. It's happening because it's within you already. And so our task is to learn that joy is always there. It's not reliant on any external appearances and being somewhere, doing some activity, being with certain people. None of those things really matter. The joy is always there because it's always available. It's eternal. So you could access the same joy just sitting quietly on your sofa as going to the beach, as being in nature, taking photographs, as going to a shopping mall, as well, it doesn't really matter because it's the same awareness really underlying all of it. And that's what he's training us to become aware of through these lessons. So misinterpreted, people go, well, what's the point of even carrying on then? What's the point of living? Because you'll find a deeper joy, a joy that is unrelated to any of the forms and the illusions of this world, which is sustainable. It's always there. And no matter what's happening, whether things are apparently really nice on the level of form or they apparently not nice, it doesn't really matter because your joy is there anyway, irrespective. And that's the enlightened state of mind, which, as he says, will save us from years of misery, countless disappointments, and hopes that turn to bitter ashes of despair. I must accept this thought as true if I want to leave the world behind and soar beyond its petty scope and little ways. So it's pretty categoric, isn't it? He's saying, I must accept this thought as true. If I only partially accept it or I deny it entirely, then there's no hope. I'll never leave the world behind. My mind will continue to be attached to and therefore imprisoned by the world. And if I die in that state, then I will come back inevitably. So you look at the timeline. We just come back. If we haven't gone here fully and completely, and we don't know this is true, our mind is still dwelling in illusions, the ego's psychological and emotional attachments. We just bypass heaven. We don't go there because we've denied it. And those psychological and emotional attachments are what in the East they call karma. So that karma then causes you to come back into a body, and then you have to have another life on the timeline in time space where that karma, those psychological and emotional attachments, gets played out. And you have various experiences which play it out, and then in those experiences you have the chance again to let go of that psychological and emotional attachment by changing your mind, or deepen into it and you just make your karma deeper. Some people have been doing, deepening their karma for many, many lifetimes. And now this is the lifetime we're saying, no, we need to let all of this go, because nothing in the red will work. It's all illusion. None of it's going to work. And it's all actually meaningless and valueless. It's all just a distortion of the truth. all arises from the belief in separation. That's not true. Okay, so anything else? Number one, do you want to summarize that in your own words briefly?
There's nothing in the world that will bring me the joy, because the joy is within me already.
And I must accept this as true. He's asking us to accept it rather than deny it. It's quite I think most people who read that first paragraph would be quite challenged and go, well, actually, I know I don't do that. I know there are things that I cherish and I value here still. So it's a call to let go of those, to become aware of them, because he's pointing them out, and then to release them in and through this lesson. Okay, happy to move on.
Yeah. Each thing I value here is a chain that binds me to the world, and it will serve no other purpose than this. But everything must serve the purpose I have given it until I see a different purpose for it. The only purpose worth it contains is that I let it go without delaying, to perceive some hope where there is none. I will not be deceived anymore. The world I see holds nothing I want. Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah. Anything strike you particularly there in that paragraph?
Just the chains that bind me to the false world. That's the thing, isn't it? Each one is another attachment.
Yeah, well, you've been doing in Buddhism, they call them fetters.
A
fetter or a chain that binds me, and it's those fetters that will bring us back. It's the beliefs that I value something here, I want something here. Well, then if I want something here, or I fear something here, whatever I've made real in this world, I have to come back to experience that. You see, even if I have an aversion reaction, I go, no, I really don't want that. That emotion of aversion is strong enough to bring you back, so you can repeat that aversion again in another life. So that's why you have to get rid of all craving and all aversion to be free, which is what Yeshua's saying. Each thing I value here is a chain that binds me to the world, and it will serve no other purpose than this. So he's really just cutting to the chase. He's giving us like absolute clarity here, just in case we haven't got his message up till this point. We're lesson 128. So again, just laying it all out, saying this is how it is. I'm giving it to you absolutely straight. You can't really, if you're honest, misinterpret these words, can you? When they're so clear and so direct. So when people say, well, there's another interpretation, or this interpretation of it, it's like, how do you misinterpret this? He's so clear and unambiguous, because he doesn't want you to misinterpret. He wants you to take his words at face value and say, this is what he's saying. When he says there's no value here, nothing that I want, he means that's nothing. Absolutely not one thing.
The main attachment is to the self, isn't it? So while you're attached to the self, it's very natural or easy to get attached to other things.
Yeah.
So letting go of the self is probably the bottom line, isn't it? Letting go of that.
Well, how do you let go of the self? You see, so this is the interesting thing. So you let go of the self by letting go of your attachment to the things that the self desires. That's the methodology. Forgiveness or letting go is like, okay, so let go of an attachment as it arises, because that is then part of the self-concept that's arising, and then the self-concept and its projection in the world are not separate. They are just different aspects of the same thing. So the genius of this course is saying, okay, so the way to do that, okay, how do I let go of my self-concept? I let go by not valuing these things in the world. And as I don't value them, I'm undoing my self-concept automatically. And that self-concept is then being undone and changing. And that's happening as I do the letting go, or the forgiveness. So he's giving us a very practical way, saying, okay, well, let's work with what you're attached to, and let's perceive it differently and let go of all value that you have attached to it. And then you are changing your self-concept in that process. Otherwise, quite tricky. Okay, I need to let go of my self-concept. How exactly do I do that? How do I just let go of my self-concept when it's the default thought system that's run my whole life? See?
Better ways to look within and see if it's really there. Is the I here? Is the me here?
Hmm.
Then once you see it's actually not there, then it's so much easier to let go. Well, you've let go. Once you let go of the self-concept, all the attachments got nothing to attach to, have they?
So that is another, like a direct inquiry. Who suffers? Romano would say to you as follows: who suffers? You know, who's attached? Who desires? Who suffers? And then you go, well, actually, no one. But he still has a starting point of some kind of desire or some kind of suffering, doesn't it? That's the starting point to work from, and go, okay, well, work from there, and then go, who is it? Who is it that then suffers? But you still require the delusion of some kind of suffering and attachment to present itself. So whichever way you do it, in the end, it's 6 of one and half a dozen of another. You are letting go of the self-concept. You deny the attachment. You find a clarity and a peace in your mind. Well, that's then the true self revealing itself. Or you go, okay, I'm aware of that attachment, and I'm going to just look at it and ask myself, who suffers? Who is it that's attached? Who desires? Who suffers? Through direct inquiry, and realize that there is really no one there. Then I drop the attachment, and I come to the same awareness that there's just this pure formless awareness, perfect love. So both methods work, and in the end they collapse into one. It's like, well, are they really different? Just a different way in, really. It's a different way into the same place, like two different doors leading into the same room, if you like.
Well, I did the non-attachment to things for a long time. It seems, from where my point of view, it's a lot quicker just to self-inquire directly and realize there's no self to attach anything to. But maybe that's my journey.
The question is, would you have been able to do that if you hadn't done the years of non-attachment practice? You see.
Oh, will we?
So, well, for a lot of people, they've struggled to just go, okay, direct inquiry. Like, how do I even do that? You see, so it's like, where do you start? Yes, you're saying, well, start with forgiveness or letting go of whatever you're attached to by becoming aware of it, and then the self will start revealing itself. And as you do more of that, you'll find that it's easier to maybe just cut to the chase and go, okay, if I just ask myself who suffers and recognize that there is really no entity there, there's no self-concept, no self to suffer, then the suffering disappears because there's no self that can experience that. But that's quite a direct, advanced path that often takes people years to get onto. And so it's all, whichever way you do it, it's all good because it's leading you in the right direction. And in the end, it's two doors to the same room. You're going home. You're going back home, and they're just different doors into the same place. And eventually, the doors collapse as well, and you realize they were actually the same thing. It's all collapses into one. Just at the time, it seemed like that's the door you have to go through. That's the door that I need to take to get in. And then you find as you evolve in your practice that you don't need the door anymore. It can just be a direct, okay, who suffers? Well, there isn't really a self anymore. I'm not identified with any self who can even suffer. So, you just pop the bubble of the self concept, and then how can there be suffering if there's not even a self to suffer? And then your true self, Christ self, arises naturally in the awareness that's beyond suffering.
I felt some embarrassment yesterday, and it was just embarrassment. And I could have put a story to it why I felt embarrassed, but because I knew there was no self, there was no one feeling embarrassed. It was just a sensation of embarrassment. Embarrassment was just present. So I find that very helpful, because it's so easy to go down the story. Oh, I felt embarrassed because that, and then they probably thought that. And then you go around the houses, don't you? You get stuck in the story of it all.
Well, and then, the self now has to let it go. Well, I felt embarrassed and I've got to let it go. In the end, remember, he's telling us forgiveness at the highest levels. Just recognize that there's nothing to forgive, because there was never a self that experienced that. So it like collapses the whole thing. It just takes the energy out of all of it. There was never a separate self to experience embarrassment. So there was a temporary sensation that arose, and we call it embarrassment, but you realize there's really no self there. So it can't stick on anything. There's no sticking, isn't it? Because there's no self for it to attach to. So it kind of comes and it goes and just moves through and blows through your mind, and then it's gone, which is actually what one of the enlightened masters, Ramakrishna, he was asked, well, do you ever have kind of negative thoughts, ego thoughts and emotions? He said, yeah, actually I do, but the difference is they don't stick. There's nothing for them to stick to. So they float in, and I'm aware of them, and then they float out, and they just arise and they pass away, and there's no self-concept for them to attach to. Because most people with the self-concept, the thought floats in, and then it's like, oh, self-concept goes, great, I'll grab that one. And now there's a match, and it attaches like a magnet to it, and it's like, oh, and then another one comes in, and another one. It's like suddenly you've got all of these thoughts that are padding the self-concept, and of course it makes it real and makes it more dense. But if there's no magnet, if there's no self there, if there's no magnet, to use that analogy, then the thoughts will just float through. They just kind of blow on through, and there's nothing to magnetize them and make them stick.
It was interesting. There was nothing to stick it. There's no self that was having embarrassment, but I could see the tendency to put a story around it. So it was like it was floating in my aura, and I was ready to pad it out with this story that would made it a thing.
Which would then be the self-concept coming in, trying to energize itself through the thought and create a story around it. And if there's a story, then there must be a self that's experienced the story.
It didn't really feel like there was. It just felt like in midair, I'd created this, I'd put this sensation of embarrassment there, and then I put the story around it of why it felt. So it wasn't really attached to a person. It was interesting anyway. It was a slightly different experience. But yeah, all good to notice.
But in the end, you collapsed it and said, there's no self.
Yeah, once I realized I was just, it's just embarrassment was present. Then I went, oh yeah, all right, it's not mine. Yeah, all right. Okay.
Just a sensation arising. There's no self, so it passes away, and it's gone. Nothingness out of which it arose. And that's advanced letting go, forgiveness, because you realize it never really happened. There's nothing yet really ever to forgive. So all good. Now, anything else to add to number 2?
No, it's good.
Again, just make it very clear. There's the only purpose worthy of my mind is to let everything go without delaying, to perceive some hope where there is none. The world I see holds nothing that I want. So pretty categoric. And when I was contemplating practicing, it's like, whoa, okay, that's Yeah, I've done this lesson before, but it's still okay. Nothing here do I really want. So although, you're engaging in stuff and there's family time and there's now I'm working, and do I really want any of it? No. So it's interesting that you can still then participate quite actively in kind of an inspired way and not actually want any of it. And that's the art of this. Okay, so that doesn't mean, so a lot of people conventionally will go, well, if I didn't value anything here, I'd just give up. I wouldn't do anything. I just kind of become a space cadet and veg out, and my life would collapse. But actually, the opposite's true. If you don't want anything, you can just be this open, empty awareness, and it flows through you, and you just feel inspired and guided to do whatever you need to in the moment. And without creating any attachment to it, without a story, without a drama, it's like, okay, this is what I'm doing. This is what I'm doing. Ultimately, it has no meaning. But in the moment, if I'm connected to my true awareness, then this is an opportunity for that awareness to express in through the action. And that's the miracle of the flow state. And that's all it is. It's like awareness expressing in and through me in all my thoughts, words, and actions. And that's the enlightened way of living, with no ulterior motive, no agenda. It's just happening now. Okay, so I'm doing this now. I'm writing a proposal now. I'm playing badminton or football with my son. It's just happening now, and there's no attachment to any of it. That's really the key to this. So it's happening when it's happening, and then when it's not happening, it's not happening. And there's no like, oh, now I'm missing it. So purely present, just open, available, accessible to life without any attachment, any desire, means that you can always be happy, because it's never like, oh, well, I want it to be some other way than what it is. It just is what it is. Unfolding as it is, no attachment. When it stops, as it will eventually, then that's fine. And we carry on. And there's no sense of loss or losing or lack. And that's the spiritual practice then of just being in the now, the holy instant, as he calls it, the holy aware moment, and allowing yourself to be done through by spirit, pure formless awareness in the now, living in this miraculous way or flow state. So actually this frees you to be able to do that and to live a very inspired, happy, joyful life while you're here, and engage fully in whatever you're doing, but without any attachment to it. Okay.
Yeah.
Escape today. So I escape today the
Alternative.
yeah, it's not much to translate in this one. So.
I escape today the beliefs that limit my awareness when I perceive freedom here. What I value, I make part of me as I perceive myself. All things I seek to make my value greater in my perception limit me further, hide my true worth from me, and add another bar across the door that leads to true awareness of myself.
So whatever I'm seeking, desiring to make my value greater, this, the self-concept wants to big itself up. Whether that's through grandiosity, I'm so great, I'm the, what we'd call a big ego, a la, say, Donald Trump, or you big yourself up by being especially a victim, same thing. Going deeper into victimhood and the separate self is another way of seeking to make your value greater in your perception. Well, I'm a bigger victim than everyone else. all of which is just limitation. It's hiding your true worth, hiding your true awareness from you. So, paradoxically, you look at, Yad was talking, I heard about that lady she saw in the shopping mall who was really down and out. She is not very far from someone like a Donald Trump, although he's got, money and power and all that. Actually, the one is just extreme grandiosity, which is just the flip side of littleness. So he's just gone extremely into attempting to get some kind of self-concept reinforcement through the grandiosity, and then the littleness is just the flip side of that. So underneath, someone who's extremely grandiose like Donald Trump is actually the extreme victim, and he's not very far away from that, which you can see switches. You can see the switch quite easily in someone like when he says, well, now I'm being attacked and victimized and unfairly treated. He's got a court case going on. I don't know. I don't follow it, but I don't know what the outcome of that is. But it's, the victim is never very far away from the grandiose self, because littleness and grandiosity are just flip sides of the same illusory coin. Okay. So what's he saying in number 3? Can you summarize that for yourself?
Anything that limits any beliefs that limit my awareness blocks my access to true awareness.
And hide my true self from me. Okay, number 4.
I let nothing that relates to body thoughts delay my awakening, nor be tempted to believe the world holds anything I want, and allow the belief in separation to prevent my awakening. There is nothing here to cherish. Nothing here is worth one instant of delay and pain, one moment of uncertainty and doubt. The valueless offers me nothing. I cannot find certain value in worthlessness. Yeah. So any body thoughts prevent me awakening. Anything I value that's worthless prevents me awakening.
Anything that's not permanent. This is the decision rule. Saying if it's permanent and it will last, then it has value. And if it's impermanent and it won't last, it has no value whatsoever. That's the simple decision rule. Which makes it quite simple. Okay, well, is it going to last forever? No, nothing here is going to last forever. So therefore, it's of no value. Very simple. If you start fudging it and you say, well, that has some value and this has some value and that one, I don't really value that, then you start getting into separation and distinctions, and it gets very confusing, very muddling, doesn't it?
Very.
And so the only way is to cut through all of that and say, it's this or it's that. Very simple, very straightforward, very clean cut. And so people say, but that's way too radical. I want a spirituality that's a bit kind of softer, gentler, gives me a bit more leeway, but actually that's just a mush. The spirituality that is dualistic, that's a mush of different ideas, and you try and make sense of the mush, and it doesn't make sense because you can't mix the dark and the light. You have to clear cut the darkness away from the light in order to awaken. So there has to be a decision. Decision comes from the root Latin words decadere, which means to cut away. You must cut away the darkness. That means a clear cut. No, that's not correct. I'm not going to value that in order to choose the truth.
I've been practicing noticing when I'm choosing the illusion. and noticing the switch that happens in my mind when I choose it.
Hmm.
And yesterday I had a very clear insight that when I'm choosing the illusion, it's like this grey mist comes down and it just takes the shine off the world. And when I investigated what that mist was, there was just like little droplets of emotion that were kind of multifaceted, like mirrors. And it was very confusing because all these mirrors were mirroring each making up these storylines of why this grey cloud was there and why everything wasn't rosy and pure formless awareness. And that was a real eye-opener. But it was definitely a switch in my brain that just chooses the illusion. So I'm just practicing that, getting to see how often that switches around. And
switch in my mind. Just clarify your language. Switch in my mind.
What did I say?
In your brain. It's not in the brain.
Switch in my mind. Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Switch in my awareness, really, because it's just awareness.
Yeah. Yeah. In my awareness.
Switch in my awareness. But, these subtleties to notice when the gray mist comes down and to notice why, that's part of the awakening. So, okay. So I can see that when I do that, I go back into the illusion and it's all kind of gray and dull, and the clarity and the brightness and the light are covered over. It's the veil of illusion. And I can, if you can see very clearly, perceive when that happens and why that happens, then you can stop it. Say, well, don't do that. I understand exactly why I'm now in the gray mist again, because I made that choice. And once you make one wrong choice, then further ones follow. That's inevitable. You make one wrong, bad decision, and then another one and another one. And this is how people get themselves into horrible positions in life. It's like, well, you just keep making the wrong choices. Eventually you end up at the characteristic, impasse of the ego. It's like nothing's working. I'm just blocked. I'm so stuck that I don't know where to turn because I've kept making the wrong choices and it's taking me down a blind alley. And now my head's rammed up against the wall and I don't know what to do. There seems to be no way through. Well, turn around and retrace your steps. That's what you've got to do. But that's like unwinding all of those wrong decisions to go back to the original point. So if you can just be aware, the key thing with this mind training is be aware in the moment. Okay, I'm making a wrong decision right now. And I can notice as that's happening. And before I speak on it and before I act on it and I do anything about it, I notice it and then I can correct it. Because then it's not a big deal. It's like, okay, well, it's a potential wrong decision. It's arising. I've got the feeling, the thought feeling arising, but have I spoken on it? No. Have I acted on it? No. I haven't manifested it. I haven't made it real yet. So then I just let it blow through. Okay, just let it dissipate. And you'll notice that the ego is intent on having you speak on things and act on things. Do you notice that? When thoughts come in, because it makes it real. It's the most powerful form of affirmation is speech, and then action is the most powerful. Action is the most powerful form of affirmation.
It's quite interesting. I've not thought about that, but that is so, yeah.
It wants you to make it real by speaking about it and then acting on it. And so if you feel this impulse to act, and it's a crazy impulse, know that that is the ego trying to make its insanity real in your experience. And the people who can avoid that, who have the resistance to that temptation, or then become the awakened ones of this world, because everyone has these temptations. But those who resist the impulse to act on the ego, then avoid all the trouble that people who don't have the resistance find themselves in. Think of criminals. They just don't have any resistance to the impulses, do they? That's the problem. The impulse comes and they act on it, and then it becomes real in their then they've done something, and now they've committed a crime, and then they're on the wrong side of the law, and then they end up in prison. But the impulse to act, if they just said, no, I'm not going to listen to that, I won't do it, then it just would have come and gone, and they wouldn't have become a criminal. So it's absolutely, and it's the key of emotional intelligence. If you read people like Daniel Goleman, he's saying the people who have the ability to resist the impulse to do something in the moment and not do it are those with emotional intelligence. Well, 6 of one, half a dozen another. Whether you want to call it emotional intelligence or spiritual awakening, it's the same thing. It's like, don't act on that crazy impulse. And so have the awareness to know when it's arising, to feel the insanity of it, and just to say, I recognize that for what it is. It's just crazy. There's no sense to that at all. I'm not going to act on that impulse, and you let it go. And if you keep doing that, every time you just weaken the ego. It's like, okay, so that's just another letting go of this self-concept. It keeps trying to reinforce itself by getting you to speak and act based on its crazy ideas. And it's just to recognize, as he's saying here, that it offers you nothing. Right? This is just a part of the tiny mad idea. It's insane. It offers you nothing, and it just needs to be let go of. That's the only solution to craziness. Realize there's no value in it whatsoever. And that's the only way, because if you make it at all valuable, then it's got you in some way, isn't it? Oh, well, I see a little bit of value there. Well, then it's got you. And it's going to use that little bit of value, and it's going to hang on to that for dear life, and it's going to try and amplify that and make it into something that's actually of great value to you. Because that's then the cord that binds you into the world. So it's just like cut all those cords, like no, cut that. I sometimes do like a lightsaber visualization. It's like just cuts it all cut away, so you're free of all the fetters. There's nothing binding you. And then just when you think you've cracked it, something comes in. And, oh, okay, that's still. You can notice there's still some attachment there. So then cut that one until there's nothing left to cut away, and then you're completely free. And you just become the pure formless awareness of perfect love, being guided moment by moment in this world by Source itself, in all of your thoughts, words, and actions, without any of the attachments. No conditioning, see? No conditioning. Then that's unconditional love. You are then become the manifestation of unconditional love in this world, which is the Christ, which is the Buddha, the awakened one, which is the avatar. And you live that and you express it. It comes in and through you into the world. Okay?
Yeah.
Number 5.
Today I practice letting go of all value I have given to the world. I let go of all the purposes I gave its aspects, phases, and dreams. I remain aware that the world is purposeless and let go of all I wish it were. So do I lift the chains that bar the door to the freedom from the world and go beyond all little values and diminished goals.
I'm saying that, so do I lift how about and so
And so I lift the chains that bar the door. How many paragraphs have we got in this lesson?
it's another
loads, so I'm not going to do it then, am I? I've got a whining dog here waiting.
8. It's not too much.
No, I've got a whining dog here, so I'll do one more and then I'll succumb to her.
She wants to walk.
Yeah,
Okay.
she's being very patient. She
You
just
can,
whines.
can carry on while you walking if you want.
No, it's all right, Jono. I'll take a break.
Okay.
What numbers are we on? So we've done 5.
5.
Did we just do 6?
Have you read 5?
Yeah.
Yep.
Do number 6 then. I pause and am still a little while, then see how far I rise above the world when I release my awareness from the chains of false values and let it seek the level where it finds itself at home. Okay. Interesting. It will be grateful to be free for a while. It knows where it belongs. I free its wings and it will safely and joyfully fly to join its pure purpose. I free its wings and it will surely and joyfully fly to join its pure purpose. What's that mean then? What's it? It will surely.
It is awareness. So I pause them still and see how far I rise above the world. When I release my original was release your mind.
Okay.
Release my awareness from the chains of false values and let it seek the level where it finds itself at home. So it, awareness, will be grateful. Your mind or awareness will be grateful to be free a while. It knows where it belongs. Just using imagery, I free its wings and will surely and joyfully fly to join its pure purpose. So its pure purpose is awakening, is to be in peace and love and joy. And that's all it wants. So let it rest in its source. I let it rest in its source. And be restored to sanity, freedom, and perfect love. Which is a lovely, just the language, it's so poetic. It's really, just using the language to take us into that state that the language is pointing to. Well, and then he says number 7, give it 10 minutes, 3 times today. So if you like, while you're walking, I'll do a meditation for you.
Yeah, right. I'll go on my mobile.
Hmm.
Take you out on my walk.
Okay. And then you'll log off or come back to do the text.
I'll log off because I'm exhausted and I want to go to bed.
Okay.
'Cause I love it. I do need some sleep.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you get up at 5, don't you?
4-ish now.
4
Yeah.
o'clock.
Yeah.
Right. It's quite early, yeah.
Yeah.
I was quite tired. I got up at 5 yesterday. I was like, by mid-afternoon, I was whacked. Okay. So I'll let you in and log off here.
Okie doke. Thanks ever so much.
Enjoy the walk. And
Yeah, thank you. I'll listen.
see you tomorrow lunchtime.
Oh, hang on. Sorry. What's tomorrow?
Tomorrow is Wednesday, I think. Are we Wednesday tomorrow?
Yeah,
Wednesday.
might do lunchtime. Yeah,
Okay.
maybe. Yeah. Okay.
Would evening be better?
I don't. Evening would be better. Yeah.
Okay. Let's do evening then. 5 o'clock.
Okay. See you then. Bye.
Okay. Enjoy the walk. Stay. Okay. So see if we can get the recording going. Why this isn't working. Terminal error. Doesn't like it. Okay. So I just close that. Right. No, today we're 20th today. Nearly midsummer. All right. Just try opening that again, see if that makes any difference. All right. So there we go. All right. So just making yourself comfortable, or you're listening. You can sit down. Otherwise, Sally, you just walk away. So you're sitting down. Close your eyes. Sitting comfortably in favorite meditation posture, feet shoulder width apart, back straight, cup your hands in your lap. Close your eyes, take a nice deep breath in through the nose. We're breathing in, noticing how the stomach rises and the chest rises. Subtle flow of air in through the nostrils. Clenching the sphincter muscle, lock the energy in. Draw the energy up the spine. To your heart center. One hand on your heart to connect with your heart space. Draw it all the way up into the crown of your head. Pausing at the top of the inhale. I'm just going to look around the world, open your eyes and remind yourself, this world I see, world's nothing that I want. Absolutely nothing that you want, you cherish, you value, or that you fear, that you avoid, despise, you condemn. It's because none of it's true, none of it's real. So exhale out through the mouth on the truth of this, blowing it all away with the breeze of your breath. And the nothingness that it really is, it's going, gone. Pull the lower stomach into the spine. Expel the last remaining air out. And you just rest here in this peace and stillness. Just as your whole perspective on the world will shift by just a little every time you let your mind escape its chains. The world is not where it belongs. Its chains are its limiting beliefs. Saying to yourself, and I belong where it wants to be and where it goes to rest. And I let go of valuing the world. So my true awareness values only truth, only what is permanent and eternal has a value. And everything else is temporary, has no value whatsoever. That is the simple decision rule. Therefore, nothing in form has any value because it will not last. Everything in form is temporary. Only the truth of perfect love is eternal. So just rest in this eternal truth. Guide is sure. You open your awareness to it. Say, I am still and I rest. I rest in God. I rest in this pure, formless awareness, perfect love. Anything arises to tempt you to delay yourself, see some value in an aspect or image of the world, judging it as real, judging it as desirable, judging it as fearful, judging it as worthy of condemnation and attack. Refuse to chain your awareness to these false values, but tell yourself quiet certainty. This will not tempt me to delay myself. The world I perceive holds nothing that I want. And then exhale. Just blow it all away. A breeze of your breath. Stomach into the spine. Expel the last remaining air out. And rest in the deep peace of your true self. The one self, the Christ self that you are. Self you share. Everyone, the self that is one with its source. Which is pure, formless awareness, perfect love. So sink into this self. Remind yourself there's nowhere else to go, nothing else to do, nothing else to think about. Just breathe, relax, and be still. Sink into the eternal self, the only truth. Self that has immeasurable value, infinite value, beyond all illusions. If you can catch a glimpse of a state of limitless, infinite awareness, then there's a day of glory, as Yeshua says, for the world, a magnificent day for you and your spiritual awakening. So nowhere else to go, nothing else to do, nothing else to think about. In the next couple of minutes of deep silence, you just breathe, relax, and be still. Observe the breath, be still, and surrender to the true self, capital self, beyond all little self concepts and everything the little self values in this world. Just allow yourself to experience the true value. So just gently coming back, this deep awareness, your mind back into an awareness of your body and the breath, senses, the world. And on the count of 3, you're going to open your eyes. So 1, just breathing in. Noticing how the stomach rises and the chest rises and the subtle flow of air in through the nostrils. Pausing at the top of the inhale. Smile. Scan your mind. Notice any thoughts, emotions, related body sensations going on. Particularly notice anything you desiring or fearing in the world, people, places, objects, sensations, experiences, so on. Anything you desire or you fear as an attachment. And remind yourself that the world I see holds nothing that I want. You can open your eyes briefly and just look around. Nothing here has any value because it's all temporary. It comes and it goes and will not last. So the count of 2, you're going to exhale, just blowing out any uncomfortable thoughts, emotions, any related body sensations. As you're releasing them like black smoke, leaving you out of your mouth, out of your energy system. Blowing it all away, breeze of your breath. From the lower stomach into the spine. Expel the last remaining air out. And you rest. A few moments in this perfect peace and stillness in the gap between breaths, a gap in mind, and you get a little glimpse of the pure formless awareness of perfect love that is you, that is true reality. And that's the case. It's a moment, a holy instant, a holy aware moment of glory, a magnificent moment for you and for the world. So breathe in again. Just notice as you breathe in, any smell in your nose, maybe there's a subtle taste in your mouth. Notice what you're hearing in the surrounding environment. Touching, maybe tasting, perceiving. Just notice all your senses, but without attachment. If you're not judging and labeling and naming and valuing things, then they have no power to affect you. And just blow through your mind. The sense perceptions come and go. Blowing through your mind. So notice this clear, calm state of awareness. You've just been cleaned out of all false desires and expectations and anything that perpetuates your false self-concept. And you rest in the true self that is one with pure formless awareness, perfect love. And to help you stay there, just practice today's lesson frequently, ideally every hour for the rest of the evening, by listening to the short breath break recording I sent you. It's 4 minutes, or if that's too long, if you follow the instructions in Telegram or email message to practice the lesson under a minute, do that every hour until you go to sleep, and that should keep you very much connected to your source and awakened. So that's what I wish for you. An awakened, peaceful and flowing evening. So it is said, so it is done. On the count of 3, open your eyes. So just look around for 30 seconds, adjusting to back into this world of visual perception. Notice what you're seeing, touching, tasting, hearing, but very quietly. The mind rests in the same fundamental awareness as you had when your eyes were closed. So notice any object, look at it for a few seconds. Notice that awareness is still present. You'll notice another object, same awareness, and so on. Always the same awareness, which is your true awareness, pure formless awareness. It's the ground of being, and it's always there. You can never be disconnected from that awareness and truth, which is why God, which is that awareness, goes with you wherever you go, because God, this awareness, is in your mind, is in fact your own awareness. And that simple truth is the ultimate truth of this seemingly illusory universe, which you can stay rooted in, stay in this awareness for the rest of today and on into tomorrow. So brings us to the end of the meditation and the session. So thank you, Sally, for that. Hope you enjoyed your walk, moving meditation. Anyone else listening to recording, thank you. And practice well. Stay in, and I'll see you tomorrow. Evening, we'll do a late afternoon session, 5 p.m. UK time, at 6 p.m. SA time. Namaste. Which means the true self in me acknowledges and honors that same true self in you.